Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell's Texas football back here at the Texas High School Coaches Association and Convention, here with the head coach of those Mount Pleasant Tigers, Coach Joe Cluley, my good friend. Coach, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
So I just had Stanford from Texas High over here, and he was telling us how bad they're going to be in 2023. Should I believe a word that he says?
I would not believe a word Coach Stanford has to say. Just in general, as a rule of thumb, but especially about that football team they have coming out. They are going to be really, really good.
All right. Well, let's talk about coaching school a little bit. I want to know how long is the drive from Mount Pleasant to Houston? How long?
So it was about 4 hours from Mount Pleasant to Houston, so significantly closer than my drive to Houston from Lubbock the last time I came down.
Okay, so you're a little closer.
I made it out better, yes, sir.
Okay. How exciting is it to be? You are the son of a former Texas high school football coach. So I know you've been to a lot of coaching schools, and how exciting is it every year to come here and be a part of this convention?
This is, to me, and like Courtney and my wife, we talk about this all the time, this is the kickoff to football season, and all year you wait for football season to come, and we go through off season and all the hard stuff we do, but this is, to me, the pinnacle of what we do here in the state of Texas. If you could see what we're looking at with all the different coaches and from colleges and, of course, our great high school coaches and just the camaraderie that's here, it is absolutely second to none.
And the media dorks like me and Tepper here, we hang out. We try to make Dave Campbell's booth one of the places to go. We want all the head coaches to come by here at least once during their time here, and I think our operations staff does a pretty good job making this.
And I would say this: not only is Dave Campbell's kind of like the Bible of Texas high school football, and really moving towards basketball and collegiate stuff as well, but y'all's booth is always the move. If you can get in one of these seats, I had to beg my way in here today.
That's all right.
But that $20 I gave you paid off.
Yeah, that'll buy dinner here in a little while.
Right,
that's right. You mentioned our Ish has done a great job with our Texas basketball coverage, and Mount Pleasant, you guys on the boys and girls side had unbelievable basketball seasons.
Unbelievable years. I think we were like 37-1 in the girls and 34-1 with the boys. In fact, our head basketball coach is headed down here right now. So he wants to. He's never been to coaching school, so he wants to experience this as well. This is such a great environment.
It really is. It means football season is here, and we're talking ball. And
yes, sir.
Let's talk about those 2023 Mount Pleasant Tigers. I know last year, first year, transitional year, and you guys were knocking on the door in a lot of games. And, I feel like this year you guys have a chance to take a step forward. But what do you guys need to do to close that gap and go from being competitive to turning those close losses into wins in 2023?
I think a big part of it is leadership. We feel like our group of kids we have this year that have come back, Mason McMahon, our quarterback, Antez Jeffrey, I could name several, Ryder Marshall, Trevor Broach, Jonathan Amieva, all those guys I feel like have taken a huge step from a leadership standpoint, and I think that's the difference is when you get to the sidelines, coaches are going to preach what they preach, but when you can get your kids preaching what you preach to each other, I think you get the buy-in, you get the camaraderie, and that way when you go down 7, instead of everybody hanging their heads, they're going, hey, our defense, our offense is about to go out here and do their thing, and I think that's where we're at. We're on the cusp of that. Of course, you got to prove it in the games, but I'm really excited about our football team this year.
I noticed that, and I know it's just 7-on-7, right? But I noticed that when I watched y'all play in the Tyler 7-on-7 in that game, really close game against North Forney, you guys got down like 20-0 early, and then come all the way back and take the lead. And I didn't see anybody chirping at each other, hanging their heads. I know y'all didn't win that game, but I felt like that you really proud of that kind of growth from your kids.
I really have been proud of all of our 7-on-7 stuff, and we obviously didn't make it to the state 7-on-7, which was our ultimate goal. But seeing the growth in our kids, even from our first SQT to our second SQT, them understanding that the guy next to you, he may make a mistake, but he's working as hard as he can and doing the best. He's not trying to make a mistake. Let's lift that person up instead of beating them down. And anytime you come into a new situation, a new place, the culture always has to change. And that's kind of what we walked into. And so we're slowly trying to change it and try and make it right. And when you have great kids, which we do, high character kids, which we do, you're eventually going to win football games. And that's our plan.
Now, you're the rare defensive guy who actually likes playing 7. Now, I don't know if you like all the rules about 7-on-7, but you like to play. Why is 7-on-7 good for your program?
7-on-7 is important to us, and I think it's important. It should be important to everyone because it's about competing. It's about going out And the rules are the rules, but they're the same for me and you. And let's go and let's compete. And just in 7-on-7, you get officials that call things different, just like you do from Friday night to Friday night, or just like you do from Thursday night to Thursday night. And to me, it's all about, are we going to go compete, or are we going to go lay down? And you see the competitive heartbeat of your kids, and you can talk about off season, but kids are different when they compete against other kids they don't know. And sometimes they don't compete as hard, and other times you get groups that compete harder. And I think right now our group competes harder against others than they do against themselves. And that's what I want to see, because on Friday night when it says Tigers across our chest, it doesn't say offense and defense. It just says the number and Tigers. And so we want to compete really, really hard. I think 7-on-7 brings that out.
All right. Now, you had a busy off season. You have a new little one.
Sir.
You've got you're surrounded by girls in that house.
So there ain't no doubt.
So now you're I'll tell you that I have 3 girls as well.
Right.
So one of my proudest moments as a dad was when my daughters were in elementary school. My 2 older daughters had a big argument about how many different ways a football team can score 9 points in a football game. Have you had any of those moments with your daughters? I know your daughters know the game.
They know
as
the
young
game.
As they are.
Yeah, they do. They know the game. I'll say this. I think the moments that I see, especially with now my youngest is 4-month-old. Me and Courtney would tell you we're not sure what we were thinking, but we had her. She's been great. But MJ and Kate are a little older, 6 and 10. And I'll say the coolest thing has been like as they have grown up around the game. I mean, they've been to hundreds of football games at this point between freshman and JV and varsity. Is the questions that you start getting asked. And so I love the questions of like, well, what does that mean? Like, why do you do this? And, why do you have the guys stand on the goal line with their toes on the white and their hands behind their back? And it's those questions that they start seeing what you're doing in off season and in season. They start asking the questions. I absolutely love it.
Are you waiting for them to start to fuss at a ref about a holding call? Are you waiting for it?
If they follow after their mom, they're already doing it.
Okay. Now, one more fun question for you here. Last year at coaching school, you made a self-discovery. You discovered that the Kit Kat from Canada is better than the American Kit Kat.
Not even a question.
So I've got a couple. Couple for you. How fired up? How fired up are you, or is Mrs. Cluley more fired up?
Miss Cluley is more fired up. They won't all make it to Miss Cluley, and that's okay. She knows that coming into it.
Okay.
Everybody's got to pay the tax, right?
Yeah.
So like, you bring them to me, you're my plug.
It's a transport
and then
tax.
Right, and then she has to pay the transport tax back to Mount Pleasant. So I get a 20% tax on them. I take 20%, and then she gets the other 80 to do with as she pleases.
Okay.
But there's no doubt that our friendship, the best part about it is not this, it's those Kit Kats you hook us up with.
Our good buddy Mike Roach was basically calling me a mule. A mule.
A Kit Kat mule. Yeah, that's right, for the Cluley family. We're all in, man. So, we're all in.
Coach, you are invited to our Dave Campbell social tomorrow night.
Yes, sir.
So
I'll be there.
You can make it.
You'll
be there and hang out with the crew, and we'll have a good time.
About it. So, yes, sir.
Good to see you, Coach.
Appreciate it, man. Good to see you, too.
Good luck in 2023, and congrats for all that you've done, and good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do for student athletes in Texas.
Yes, sir.